Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Cardiff City World. Welcome to the Breakdown Podcast. It is Sunday evening. I'm still in my house. I'm still in a very bad mood. So we'll see how this goes because, I'm joined by Matty Angel. How are you, mate? You good?
Yeah, good evening, Si. How we doing, buddy?
Fucking marvellous, but no, look, it is what it is, right? I'm not in a good mood. Let's just leave it at that. What I will say, right, and I actually want to talk about the promotion push as a whole tonight, and I want to talk about the fact that Birmingham come down. They spent an absolute fortune, probably spent more in one summer to get back up to the Championship than we've spent in the last 10 years. Probably they spent an absolute fortune, and we're doing it with kids plus like one or two. And I think it's worth discussing like how that's going, because I reckon if I'd have offered you on the 22nd of March, we'd be 11 points clear of third, using predominantly academy players and players under 25. We'd be within touching distance of top and well clear of the chasing pack. You'd have snapped my hand off and like wouldn't have even thought about it. And I just think, look, I will say this, right? And I want people to really listen to the words I'm saying and not just pick out bits of it. I understand. I get it. And like you said yesterday, you were bored for the first time under BBM. I get it. The last week or two, particularly at home, it hasn't been good. But Jesus Christ, like us as a fan base, we need to just chill out, like, because some of the shit that we've been served and thrown by the owner and the board in this club over the last 10 years or whatever, 10 years, the last 20 years has been sleep-inducing at best. And we're playing progressive football with clear of third by some distance. There's 7 games or 8 games left or whatever it is. We're doing it with homegrown players who are legitimately Cardiff City fans. And then the other lads are like, a lot of them are under 25. They all love the club, or at least they did. Whether they still will after a couple of years of the anxiety-inducing fucking playing at the Cardiff City Stadium, I don't know. But like, I just wish people would just relax a little bit and enjoy it, because the last few years particularly have been absolutely shocking. And they've been quite like last year, mate, in the summer, at the end of the season, mate. It was so upsetting. Like, honestly, like, I didn't think I was going to get over it through the summer. But you kind of plow on and you try and pick out the positives and whatever, right? We're winning. We barely won a game last year. We win most games this year, like playing good football. And the last thing I'll say on it, because I don't want to criticize Cardiff City fans. I'm a Cardiff City fan, and I am as frustrated as anyone at some things I'm seeing. But equally, like, sometimes I just think we need a bit of all of us need a bit of modern football fans, actually, as a whole, just need a bit of a reality check. Like, you go and have a look at some of what Arsenal fans are saying tonight after they've lost that final. Yet they're still in the Champions League. They're going to win the Premier League for the first time in 20 years. And it's like nothing's good enough. Like, it's crazy. But the last thing I'll say is Brian Barry Murphy and the way he's played football with the squad that he's already got and built, he is building a team that will be able to thrive in the Championship if he gets the right support with a couple of players to boost and to complement what he already has. They will do well in the Championship, because I tell you something, when we go to Championship clubs next year, no one is sitting 11 men behind the ball, bar probably Lincoln, maybe, and then maybe they won't. But like, no one is going to sit 11 men behind the ball. They're going to come thinking that we are fodder from League One, just got promoted, load of kids, and we are going to give some of those teams an absolute pasting. However, as I always do, and we always try to do on the channel, we always talk about like every aspect of it, and some of it yesterday was good. I thought Keane Ashford mate. Keane Ashford for the last 4 games has been absolutely unreal. And I think he's played some of the best football, most consistent football of his Cardiff career. I thought Chris Willock, who I was being really, really harsh on the last couple of times I've done a live show with you, I thought he was phenomenal yesterday when he came on, and he deserved the goal. Their keeper had a blinder. He made 3 or 4 like ridiculous saves. The one off Kellyman is like in, and he somehow gets it out. I don't know, mate. Maybe it's because I'm in a bad mood. Maybe it's because I'm in pain. But I
think obviously we done the show last night, and obviously it's still a bit kind of still raw. I know you don't like to do shows straight after games and stuff, but obviously when we done it last night, it was still a bit raw, shall we say? But I think Ryan have just put in the comments there. It'd be more concerning if we weren't creating the chances. Like we had 26 shots on goal yesterday, albeit it was half a dozen. I think it was there 5 or 6 only on target? But I suppose you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Fans are whinging that we're not making the effort, though. We're not trying to shoot. We're trying to walk the ball in, which, at times it does look that. We're trying to do that. But they had a pop yesterday. I think they need to do a bit of work now behind the scenes during the international break on some shooting practice. But, having time to kind of reflect now today, and obviously Bolton and Bradford both losing or dropping points yesterday. Was that point really yesterday the end of the world, really?
No. And mate,
we've got a fortnight off now to kind of rebuild and kind of reflect on where we've come to at this point. And I think I was looking at some players yesterday, and I thought there was a few out there that look quite leggy and are gonna really benefit hopefully from this international break.
Yeah, there's a couple of things mate, you say about the shooting, people have been moaning about us trying to not shoot, and I get that to a certain extent. But the reason why a manager like Brian Barry Murphy encourages his team to create clear-cut chances before they shoot and not just shoot for 35 yards every time you get half a yard is because everything like 30 yards plus or 25 yards plus is such a low percentage of goals go in. Now, I will say yesterday, all of those sort of long range efforts, they seem to fall to Will Fish and Ryan Wintle, people who, on their day can nail one. But realistically, you wanted Ruben to have it 25 yards out with that much space, or you wanted Perry NG to have it 25 yards out, or whoever. But
Alex Robertson, extra goal killer in the top corner.
Exactly, mate. But I think that those players, I think there's clearly been a bit of a discussion within the group, hasn't there, about shooting, if they get the opportunity, because you can see that we've gone a bit more if we get the chance, we're going to shoot from further out. But I actually thought it looked quite desperate at times yesterday when they were doing that, because they weren't working an opportunity on the edge of the box, or the Kerryman one, we work it and you get a clear a clear shot on goal. It was we got half a yard, let's have a pop sort of thing. And I don't know, that's not what we've been based on all season, and it just feels a bit.
No, and I think you were sat in the ground yesterday. You could feel the tension and the frustration sat in the ground yesterday, couldn't you? The moans and groans coming from within the ground, and players about to pick up on us. And I know, I don't think they'll ever come out in the media and say, "Oh, yeah, we heard this, that, and the other," because they focused on the game. I don't think they'd ever say that. But yeah, it was frustrating yesterday, and I think the crowd at the end of the day plays a massive part in it. And we've been so good for so long this season. I think we're kind of the victim of our own downfall now, because we expect to win games every single week. And on paper, we should have blown them apart yesterday. But football's not played on paper. Blackpool come, done the job, like you said, sat 10 men behind the ball, 11 men behind the ball, and we couldn't break through them. So frustrating, yes, but we've still got to be behind them 100%. And the booing at the end, I'm not sure who it was aimed at. There was people saying last night it was aimed at the ref. But players don't know, as soon as our whistle goes, who those boos are are aimed at. It could be aimed at the players. I just think people who booed yesterday need their heads wobbled.
Yeah, like I said on video earlier on 5 Things video, like I don't really get it. Like I've never booed my own team. I don't get it. I don't really understand it. I understand people are frustrated, but for me personally, I just don't understand why you would boo your own team. There's no positive to it. Like there's no in no way is it going to have a positive effect on anything. Now, just on the football side of things, I do think BBM, like I think so. I think he's the best manager we've had in a long time. I really think highly of him. I did before he came, and I think even more highly of him now. However, like he's not infallible, and if I think he's getting it wrong or he's done something wrong, I will say. And I think I don't really get this thing of taking Alex Robertson off, like after an hour, because that just completely killed us. Like our build-up play, and we just lost all tempo. As soon as Alex went off, we just completely slowed down again, like we had at the start of at the end of the second half, at the end of the first half, because we started all right, and then as the half went on, the first half we just slowed down, and then tempo was gone. And as soon as we took Alex off, the tempo just went, and we never really felt like we had that urgency. But equally, there was a couple of guys by me, like, and they're going, like Dylan and Will Fish had the ball, and they're going, "Wow, come on, do it quicker!" And it's like they weren't purposely doing it slow. There was no movement in front of them, because I think at that point Ruben had gone off. Joel's a different player who's looking for a ball like over the top or in the channel or in behind, and Alex isn't in the midfield anymore. So they had no one to pass to. So they end up going, to the right and then out to the wing and then back, because they're trying to work a space. And I just think sometimes, mate, and I try not to like be condescending to people, right? But like, if you've played football, just grassroots level, or rugby, or like cricket, or whatever, like, you don't have a divine right, no matter how good you are, to just turn up and just, roll teams over. Like, you have to earn it. And sometimes teams will come to you, and they know you're good. It's the big day out for them. So
does it count? Sorry, does it count if you've completed FIFA?
Yeah, I know. Well, I signed all the players on Football Manager. But it's like, it's weird, mate, because Ian Everett's taller, by the way, much taller than I thought he was. But anyway, that's a side note. He's a dickhead, mind he is. But anyway, but Ian Everett, right? He rubs people up the wrong way, and I can see why. Being so close to him yesterday, I could really see why. But he is a good coach, and he knows how to set up a team, and he's not tactically naive. So he's not going to come to Cardiff City Stadium, a team which is away from home, just blasted teams away the last few games, using this false nine system where they drag you out of position and then they run in behind and they just obliterate teams away from home. The reason it works away from home and it doesn't work at home is because away from home, the onus is on the home team to come out and try and get a win, because home fans everywhere won't accept just sitting in and getting 11 men behind the ball in their own ground. So but they can come to our place and they can sit and they can wait and try and hit us on the break. Now, does Brian Barry Murphy need to think of a plan B or a different way of playing? I think, yeah, but also he's on like plan C anyway, because Yusuf Salic is probably plan A. Isaac Davis is probably... No, actually, Yusuf Salic is plan A. Callum Robinson was plan B, but I think he doesn't fancy him anymore for whatever reason. Isaac Davis is plan C as a striker. We're on plan D already in terms of like what we're trying to do. We've got a relatively small squad, and we're on plan D in terms of strikers. So I don't know what people... I accept that we need to be have a more tempo. We need to move the ball quicker. We need to want the ball. We got to take a bit of risk and be brave and do different things better. But I'm not really sure from a personnel point of view what people want, because I don't see a whole lot of options really that he could do. You know, Joel Colwell, yeah, he's really unlucky not to be playing. You know, Scanlon maybe for a bit of pace. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that last night, Scanlon, and I think a discussion happened last night regarding Joel Bagan, and somebody commented or mentioned something about he's overrated. And again, I thought somebody needed their head wobbled, but I thought, you know, Bagan's missed a couple of times yesterday, last ditch tackles, and but, you know, like Willa come on, he looked pacey, he looked quick with the ball at his feet, didn't he? Would Scanlon maybe have added that extra little bit that perhaps we needed in the last 15, 20 minutes with his pace? You know, I don't know. Obviously, we don't get to see what happens behind closed doors. I know you've got a lot of contacts and things, and you speak to people within the building and stuff. But that's what I was looking at yesterday and thinking perhaps bring him on. But not knocking Joel Bagan at all, because he's been, without shadow of a doubt for me, one of the most consistent players we've had this season.
Yeah, I think he's in with a shout of player of the year, mate. Joel Bagan. Like, I think I call him, in my player ratings videos, I call him Joey Sevens, because he just gets 7 out of 10 every week, like just all the time. And I thought he was really good yesterday. If you go have a look at, well, you'll see in the player ratings video, but he created 3 or 4 big chances. I can't remember which one off the top of my head. Like, a fullback created 3 clear-cut chances. He, you know, had like really high percentage of crosses and stuff like that. He did quite well going forward, and he was very good defensively. I'm not sure what people expect him to do. Like,
no, and
he's like a fucking left back.
Yes, like we said before, we all watch the game through different eyes. We've all got, you know, difference of opinions. And Markinish have just put a comment in regarding Ryan Wintle. Now, I thought Ryan Wintle was good yesterday.
To tell you something, mate, just quickly on Ryan Wintle, if it wasn't for him, we'd have lost yesterday, because there was one point where they hit us on the break, and I think Dylan was up the field, but it might have been Fish. One of the centre backs was up the field, and I think it might have been Wintle who lost the ball, but the striker was in 1-on-1 with the other centre back, and Wintle sprinted back, got his body across him, and won the ball, and turned around and got it up. Like, so yeah, I do disagree with that.
Yeah, I disagree with that as well, Markinish. But again, we appreciate your opinion, buddy. We're not going to shoot you down for voicing it, but yeah, I would tend to disagree with that as well.
But yesterday, and I did say this to you off air, yesterday was the game to take Wintle off. When you get to the hour mark and Blackpool are categorically putting 11 men behind the ball, don't take Robertson off, who's actually keeping the tempo and, you know, is a bit more attacking. Take your defensive midfielder off and put Joel Colwell on, and then really go at them. You can always adapt it if they start to come out a little bit, but for me, like, I'd like to see a little bit more risk and a bit more. One of the things I like about this manager, particularly earlier in the season, but just from his previous, you know, just reputation and that, is I like that he thinks outside the box, and he, you know, he doesn't see things exactly like every other manager in the world. And I would like to have seen him, you know, even like the false 9 thing. Everybody, when Salic got injured, everybody and their dog thought Robbo was definitely starting, and it was Kellyman. And like, I like that he thinks outside the box and he's got a plan. But I'd like to see that in game a little bit when teams are frustrating us. Let's go and like do something different. Go 3 at the back and, you know, chuck an extra man up front, or, you know, take Wintle off.
I mentioned that last night. I think, you know, we're in a comfortable position. I know we've gone through a bit of a rocky road the last few weeks, but, you know, we're 11 points clear of 3rd place. I think if that gap had been a lot smaller, or we were chasing Bolton, for example, then, you know, do you chuck a Will Fish or a Callum Chambers up top for the last 10 minutes to try and nick a goal? And you've got to somebody who can header the ball in the box end is, you don't know. But for me, the last 10 minutes yesterday, I think it looked to me, and again, this is my opinion only, we were happy to settle for a point. I don't think there wasn't enough urgency, and we didn't progress our ball quick enough. And again, credit to Blackpool, they stopped us. But yeah, just that lack of urgency for me yesterday in the last 10 minutes, I just thought, they're happy to take the point, really.
Yeah, maybe they just knew Bolton are absolutely dire and just thought, hey, a point will be good, yeah. Imagine how frustrated we are, or like have been, or like people are and they're angry and whatever. Imagine how you'd feel if you were a Bolton fan, knowing how consistent Cardiff and Lincoln have been all season. And then Tuesday night, both of us drop points. We've dropped point. We've lost to Lincoln, Plymouth, Wickham, and drawn a couple as well. And they still haven't cut the gap. It's still 11 points. Like, imagine how frustrating that must be. But I wanted to talk a little bit, mate, about, like, we are doing our promotion campaign, whatever you want to call it. We are doing it different to what most teams do when they get relegated from the Championship. Most teams, when they get relegated from the Championship, they splash the cash. Now, on one hand, I think, you might say, oh, the board is, the owner's not giving his money in his pocket, blah, 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 blah. I kind of get that. And I particularly think with a bit of hindsight that if they knew Salic was going to be out for a while, could they have got a striker in January if the manager didn't really fancy Robbo? Maybe. But, at that point, but we were also scoring 3-4 goals every week with Kellyman as a false line. So, you could understand why maybe the manager wasn't too fussed. But then on the other hand, they brought in a manager who specifically works with young players. And they said, you know what? We've got five or six young lads, plus the established young lads, who were all coming through. We want to trust them in League One and go and give them the opportunity to play week in, week out, and show that they've got the ability to play, professional football at this level and kick on. And if they have this season in League One, the next couple of seasons after that are going to be even better because they're going to have the experience. You imagine the experience these lads have got this year.
Yeah, and I think going back to the start of the season when we would have done podcasts, obviously in the build-up leading to it and things, I think I can remember saying something along the lines of, if we don't get promoted straight back up, but our academy boys have played, 25, 30, 35 games, then that experience is going to be invaluable to them. So, the experience that they've gained this year, I know is tough at the moment, is putting them in good stead for the future, Veterinary. And, like I said, and a couple of people have said as well, when you asked the question early days, if you'd offered us this back in August or September, you'd bitten their hands off. And I think every genuine Cardiff City fan would probably be exactly the same, in my opinion. So, yeah, I just think now that the kind of dust is settled after yesterday, I think it's just, let's take a chill and enjoy the 2-week break now before the mayhem continues again.
Yeah, and like Paul says, there a few weeks we'll be celebrating promotion, and hopefully Wales going to the World Cup as well. Do you know what I mean? It's mad, isn't it? It is crazy. I understand the apprehension and the nerves. I live it, just like everyone else. I'm no different. Especially during the games, we just proper stressful in those 90 minutes in the tight games. But I'm pretty confident now that we're all right because basically Plymouth, what is it, 7 games left? So 11 points in 7 games. We need to lose almost 3-4 games. And I just don't see us losing that many games. And that also depends on the chasing pack winning all of their games. And that's just to get this, the 11 points, I just don't see it. And obviously until it's mathematically done, then it's not done. But
I think the next game is massive. Obviously, we got 2 weeks off now, and we've got Peterborough away on the 6th of April, I think it is it? That rings a bell. And obviously the next home game is Bolton. So I think the pressure on the guys for that 3 points away at Peterborough before we entertain Bolton is massive. I think if we go to Peterborough and lose, then the pressure
away,
on that
mate, away from home, I just don't see us losing.
No,
I honestly don't. And Peterborough won't sit in either.
No, but I just think, we could probably afford just not to lose games now. If I'm honest, the last 7 games, if we can pick up points in them all, I think we'd probably scrape over the line. But
I haven't given up on. I have not given up on the league. I haven't, because I still think at some point Lincoln will lose a game. It's just whether if we go back now, like after the break, if we come back with a little run of, 5 wins and a couple of draws just to finish the season, which would be very un-Cardiff-like, I wouldn't be shocked if it goes to the last day for the title. But I also, like, Lincoln have been sensational, and you just got to give them credit. But their team is so experienced, mate. Like, so experienced and so physical. And our team, apart from the fact that it's made up predominantly of academy graduates and under 25s, we have not got a very physical team at all. Like, realistically, who do you think is a physical player in his team? Like, Fish?
I don't know, but Perry NG went through that winger yesterday at one point.
Oh, mate, he was not happy. So just before that winger accused Perry of pulling his hair. He had long dreadlocks. And obviously you saw a couple of weeks ago, I don't know if you saw it on social media, there was a player sent off in the championship he accidentally, as they were grappling for the ball, he kind of went to grab his shirt, I think, and he grabbed like a dreadlock and he pulled it out and he got sent off. So anyway, this guy was telling the ref that Perry had been pulling his hair, and Perry told him to F off like 3-4 times very loudly, like just I could hear him saying it. And he wasn't having any of it. Like he was adamant it didn't happen anyway. So they'd been chirping, and every time they were close to each other, they were going back and forth quite aggressively, which is fine. I don't mind that. And then Perry nutmegged him. Like Perry does that thing when he's got the ball, doesn't he, where he drops his shoulder and he goes inside, and he did it, but he put it through his legs, and the guy just grabbed him and threw him on the floor and went off with the ball. And League One ref didn't give the free kick. So Perry just got up and just ran after him and just absolutely clattered him in the back of the legs and took his yellow card like a champ. But then that guy was trying to get him sent off then, like for the next sort of 10 minutes, every time Perry went near him, he was falling on the floor like he'd been shot. It is what it is.
I love it about Perry NG. It's the scouse that he got in him, and he just... Yeah. Because he's not a big man, is he? But
no.
He got a heart of a lion, and he don't give a about anybody, like.
Yeah, I'm so pleased to see the real Perry NG back, like, because I think the version that we've seen over the last probably 18 months before this season, that wasn't him for whatever reason. And I tell you who else is funny, who I like people might not see. Well, they may have seen it if they were behind. Harry Tyrer on the bench, mate, is he's another one who's got that like scouse sense of humor, and he's just funny, like. But yeah, it's there's
a comment here I wanted to bring up because it was I wanted to talk about the opportunity we could have gone ahead in the first half. Philip James, thanks for putting a comment on, buddy. My only criticism is that when any of our players get played in to the opposition penalty area, instead of playing the ball across the box or drawing a foul, the player will pass the ball back out. Now, Alex Robinson he was put through on goal, wasn't he? But I think he kind of like back heel or side passed it back to, and obviously they cleared it in the end. But just put your laces through it, innit? That's you're screaming at them. Just put your laces, have a go. But what do you put that down to, say? Nerves?
the refusal to shoot sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think it depends on the player. Like, I think Tanner's got a thing at the moment where he always wants an extra touch before he shoots. And you see him, he's had it a couple of times in the box, back on his left foot, and you're just thinking, this is it now. He's going to whip it in. And he wants another touch. And I think that is a confidence thing. The thing where there was one when Alex Robertson played like a little 1-2 with someone on the edge of the box, and he kind of got it on a return, and it kind of all opened up for him. And then he tried to do like a little, like a reverse pass or something. I don't think that's a confidence thing, because we've seen him, he's been on fire recently, and he obviously saw him stick one in the top corner last week. I think that's just, they're so in the moment of one touch football that it's just one in one more sort of thing I don't know. It's weird, because there was a couple of times yesterday and on Tuesday where Ruben had it on like the inside left of the area, and he dropped his shoulder, got that half a yard, and you're thinking, here we go, he's going to whip that towards the far post, and he didn't shoot. Now, say what you will about Ruben, but since we've been watching him for the last 4 or 5 years or whatever, he's not afraid to shoot. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know whether I don't know. Maybe it is a confidence thing. But again, he scored 3 in 3 going into Tuesday. So you wouldn't think he's struggling for confidence. I do think he looks a little bit tired. I think him and Tanner, Ruben and Tanner, I think look a little bit leggy, because since they returned from injury, they have started most games, if not every game. And I just think they probably just need a little bit of a break. But obviously, Ruben's going to play he's going to be with Wales. I can't see Bellamy playing him, man. Got to be honest. Joel's probably got more chance of playing.
I hope none of them play from a selfish Cardiff point of view, really. But just to see us over the line. But no, obviously, it's the pinnacle of any player's career. So if they do get minutes, then fair play to them. But I hate it. I do international break and players get called up, and you're just praying that, nothing serious happens. But
yeah. Well, the good thing is, mate, Craig probably won't play Ruben anyway. So, but that is what it is, I guess. But like, it's a strange one. Do you know what I'd really like to see? I'd really love when Bolton come to town. I would really love to just give them a pasting, and then everyone will just relax then, because it'll be done. Although Bradford is still there, like I don't think either Bradford or Bolton are consistent enough to catch us.
No,
like I just think we'll even if we limp over the line when we get back, even if this kind of stop-start form continues after the break, I still don't see us losing 7 games. Like we'll win away games, and I think we'll win our away games and maybe drop points at home at the moment, because I think the nervousness is rubbing off on the team. That's why I really do think that's a part of it. Now, I also think the fact that we haven't got like a plan B, not because we don't have one, it's more literal. Like we literally don't have one. We don't have any other option to play, because even like
talking
people saying about
options,
Robbo, but say just on that, like people keep saying like, oh, give Robbo a start. What's he got to do for a start? But he plays exactly the same way as Ruben or Kellyman will play, and in that false 9, he drops in. He doesn't play on the shoulder like he used to. So it's no different. And actually, when he has come on, whilst he does get goals, I give it, he's got a habit of being in the same right spot. He doesn't look sharp because he's not playing much. So it's difficult, mate, because, we're on plan D, like I said.
With the substitutions as well, do you ever think sometimes there's not enough? I don't know. It seems a bit like for like at times, and nothing that's going to kind of change anything up, other than like Joel yesterday crying for him to come on a little bit earlier. But I don't know. Like BBM was quite open and honest that he wanted to work with a small squad, this, that, and the other. do you think, looking back, and perhaps obviously he'll reflect over the season, that perhaps they should have brought maybe one or two more in?
I mean, there's a bit of a three-parter that net. So first of all, on the the like for like thing, I think that's what I was sort of alluding to, where like yesterday, where Blackpool are sticking 11 behind the ball. Let's, instead of just bringing off Robertson, who's probably our most likely midfielder, or certainly the one who's setting the tempo, take Wintle off and have a bit of risk, do something different. Or instead of taking Tanner off, just taking Tanner off and putting Willock on, take Tanner off and put Scanlon on, and have real like a bit, or put Scanlon on the left for Bagan, who's going to go forward more, and then put Willock on. Like, just do something a bit different. Last 5 minutes, chuck Will Fish up front, or put Callum Chambers on as a centre forward. Like, what? Just, I'd like to see that little bit of forward thinking and just different. And I think this manager's got that in him, like to do the different. Like, I think he's shown that, but I think he's devoid of options a little bit. But I say he's devoid of options. I think he's lost a lot of his options, but I still think he's got some that he's not using at the moment. For instance, I think Joel Colwell is very, very, very unlucky to not be starting, considering the form he was in. But,
yeah,
I mean, that's a question I'll throw back to you, mate. Joel Colwell is very unlucky to not be playing, right? But Ruben came back and looked strong, scored 3 and 3. Kerryman's been really good in the number 9, false 9, whatever you want to call it. Robertson and Wintle are undroppable as far as I'm concerned. So it's like, you can see why he's not playing, even though he deserves to be playing.
Yeah.
So
I think it was difficult when it obviously Ruben come back in, and obviously probably, we all know the talent the man has got. There's no question there. And I know, again, people's heads need wobbling if they think that's the reason why we're, not winning games now that Ruben's back in the team, because I think that's bonkers. But yeah, I think, like you said, Joel can feel very hard done by. But I think obviously what Ruben done towards the start of the season has probably been enough to kind of give him the nod over his brother, which, is an headache BBM has got, and I wouldn't want to have that headache, to be honest. But
the other thing, mate, is that with Ruben particularly, I think Ruben's a leader in that group, like especially for the younger lads. I think they look up to him, and I think when you got a leader in your squad, which hasn't got many leaders or many obvious leaders, when you get one back, you do tend to want to get him in the side. And he was so important to the way we played at the start of the season, Ruben was. So I do understand why they've kind of got him back in. But my kind of, not gripe, because it's not a gripe, but my thinking is, at the start of the season when Alex was injured, Joel played as a number 8. So I don't understand why now, all of a sudden, he's only getting a look in as a number 10.
And, he's got that versatility about him, haven't he, where he can play in a number of positions. And I know BBM likes that about his players who can play in more than one position. And yeah, like you said, it's been difficult because Alex Robertson has been, back on top form. Ryan Wintle for me has been outstanding, and I seen something in, I'm not sure if it was an EFL post on social media saying that he's been rated, one of the best midfielders in League One. So yeah, it's a difficult call, but I wouldn't like to be sat in them offices having to have them discussions and team selections and that. This can't be easy.
Yeah, mate, it's a tricky one, isn't it? But like, you need that difference and you need different options. Another one who I think's been very unfortunate is Ronan Capacchio. He was so good at the start of the season, and he was a big part of how we were playing, overlapping, and he was at one point, he was top of the assist chart. And then he got injured, and Perry NG was on fire, and he never really got a look back in other than a couple of games on the left. And I think what would be nice now is maybe you do I don't know if he just turned my audio off. Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you, but yeah, unfortunately.
I
I can still hear you.
Go on, keep talking.
I think it's credit to Ronan and the way obviously he's continued to train behind closed doors. It's made Perry NG come back to the player that we knew was kind of there. Really, I think Perry NG's form kind of dipped for a while, and Bullet Dan Reza. I don't think he was enjoying his time at Cardiff, but he's been quite open and honest since BBM's come into the club that he's he's enjoying his time at the club, and I think having somebody like Ronan Capaccio on his heels perhaps every day in training that is only benefited us as a team, and obviously Perry NG's performances. But yeah, I don't know what anybody else thinks on that. But I know obviously Ronan's been called up into the Welsh squad again. I know Craig Bellamy's a big fan of Ronan Capaccio, and I think again he linked to go in there and everywhere. So be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, I don't know how much you caught to that inside before you jumped off, but I just saying I think credit to Ronan Capaccio for obviously all the work he's doing behind the scenes. I know he's on the bench most games at the moment, but I think it's made Perry NG pull his socks up and come back to the player that we knew that was there. Kind of went for a while. His form kind of dipped under the previous two managers, should we say. Wasn't enjoying his time at Cardiff. He'd be quite open and honest and tell you that, I think. And he's come out since BBM has been there and said it's his most enjoyable time at Cardiff. So I think a lot of credit has probably got to go to Ronan and how much he's had to push NG to perhaps work harder in training and on his game, to have that shirt on a Saturday.
Yeah, 100%, mate. You look at what the things NG was saying at the start of the season, like about how much he's enjoying his football, but he wasn't playing. Like when he was saying all those things, NG was getting like 5 minutes here and there. And I think with Perry, he's been there and done that. And I do think that having someone who can legitimately take your place if you're not at it is a massive. I really believe that. And I think that's how you get the best out of people. And that's another reason, by the way, I will use that as another way to big up Joel Bagan, for him to be able to keep his standards so high all season, every game pretty much, knowing that he's a guaranteed starter every week, shows the sheer mentality of him and just the way he looks at it and the way he approaches his professionalism. Because that's not easy to do, mate. In a brutal league like this, to keep the standard up there when it doesn't matter what happens, I'm starting next week because there's no one else to play you. I think he deserves even more credit.
Yeah, no, fair play to him. Fair play. Comment there from Lewis. Si, do you think Salek will come straight back in for the Peterborough game? He'll be involved in the squad whether he starts or not, I don't know. But it'll give everybody a boost having him back in and around the squad on match day, won't it?
Yeah, I think you could see yesterday when he turned up to the game. And by the way, what a guy. He arrives, takes his seat before the teams come out and that. And there's some fans who sit behind the bench and he shakes hands with every single one of them, even ones he didn't know. And I've only had a brief discussion with him, but he just seems like such a top bloke, just one of them just nice guys. But in answer to the question, I can't say for sure, Lewis, because I'm only going on little bits I've heard and stuff like that. But I've heard he was a bit, what can I say? Right. What I heard is that he's been on grass for a while. Obviously, he went back home for a personal reason for a little bit. But he's been on grass for a bit and he was a bit tender, shall we say, when he first was on the grass and stuff. But I think he's a bit further along than perhaps they're letting people know. He's not, he's obviously wasn't there yet because otherwise he would have been on the bench or something like that. But I wouldn't be shocked if he starts, but I don't think he will. I don't think they'll throw him straight back in. I think you're more likely he'll start the game after against Bolton. I think that's the one they'll earmark because they know having him back will lift the crowd and lift everyone. But you know what? Here's a question for you, Matthew. I think we've missed Isaac Davis just as much. Discuss.
Yeah, I suppose that pace in behind, we've struggled to kind of break down defenses. Obviously, that pace he's got is a massive weapon in his armory, shall we say? Like I said, Tanner for me perhaps is a bit tired at the moment, perhaps, and he's struggling. He doesn't look as confident on the ball as perhaps a Cian Ashford or Chris Willock. He's not as pacey with the ball at his feet, I don't think. And again, I don't want to come across that I'm slating Ollie Tanner because I'm not. Because since he come back from that 3-4 months off, you've had a ridiculous amount of assists and things. I just think he's played so many games now, so many minutes. He probably needs a bit of a break, if I'm honest. And I think we, to have Isaac come back into the squad as well is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I think the thing with Isaac, in fairness to him, is it like he generally hasn't played as much minutes as he, so maybe he's not quite as sharp as like a Cian or whatever. And also, what I would say as well is I felt so bad for Isaac because the start of the season they clearly they were protecting him, weren't they? And they were making sure he didn't pick up any niggles, and they were very, very safe with him. And he was just starting to really hit his stride, and they were playing him up front. And then he gets that nasty elbow, and it was so needless just because the guy didn't want to chase him back like from a long ball from Trot. Like it was needless and it was nasty.
And I just can't believe nothing got picked up and the guy didn't get found out after either type of thing.
Why would you bring that up now? Because I'm already angry. Like, but it did. It proper upset me. I think I made a video about it. It did. I was not happy about it whatsoever. What I would say is it's unfortunate in it because he gets the concussion, and then he has to have enforced sort of week or two off, and then he comes back and immediately gets a muscle injury because he hasn't trained for 2 weeks, and it's so frustrating for the boy because he's had like a nightmare with injuries. But I generally think he's had a really good season. I think he's been consistent. He works hard. He's a Cardiff City fan, and he will give everything for his shirt. And I think this year we've really started to see glimpses of what he's going to be for us, cutting in off the left and getting those shots off and stuff. I forget what goal it was at home where he was on the break. I think we won. It was the fourth goal in a game. I can't remember what game it was, but he cuts in off the left on the break and just passes it into the corner. And then, the goal on the break when he's playing up front on his own after he got clarted in the head. That pace on the break late on in games is a real weapon. And
yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult to say in it because, like I said, teams are playing so deep against us at home. You don't know until he's back and we can try it and we got that different option again, perhaps. I don't know, but I just find it difficult at the moment. I don't know what we need to do to kind of break them team down because, like I said, they're so deep. We've got no aerial threat. I think Ian Everett come out and said they were happy to park the bus because they knew we didn't have any aerial threat in the box, and they had two big central defenders who kind of mopped everything up really yesterday.
Yeah.
So it's
it
fair
was
play
interesting.
to Ian Everett. He done his homework and it worked.
What I found interesting about our mate as well is he said that he was happy to let us have it out wide. And I think if you've watched Cardiff in the last maybe 3 games, you would be happy really for us to have it out wide. Maybe you'd keep a bit of an eye on Cian because he can go in both ways. But if you'd looked at us about 6 or 7 weeks ago, you wouldn't have wanted us to give it to us out wide because Tanner was on fire and Willock was on fire, and they were both causing a lot of problems. So teams would try and keep us in the middle. And I think that's a testament to the amount of talent that we do have, that at different points in the season, different players have shone. I think we've seen the best of Chris Willock this season that we've seen in a Cardiff City shirt at times, not all the time. I think we've seen the best of David Turnbull at times, not all the time. I think we've seen the best of Kean Ashford most of the time. Who else? Joel Bagan, who I think has had his best season in the Cardiff City shirt. So, like, you know, I understand the frustration of late, but when you actually break it down, we had a fucking good season.
Yeah.
Right. I want to ask you a question to finish.
Go on it.
Because Steve, good friend of the channel, says he'd like to, he says, let me go back to the original bit. He said BBM is a top manager, but his reluctance to drop Tanner and start Robinson is a mistake that's costed us. That's two separate points, by the way. It's not drop Tanner for Robinson.
I get the Tanner thing completely agree. And like I said earlier, I think we talked about it briefly a little bit earlier on, that you can't argue with his stats. But I think he needs to work on his final ball, his delivery. He gives the ball away cheaply for me a lot of the time. Is an hard one, but yeah, he took Mafiko off after, was it 26 or 36 minutes the one game when he threw him in the deep end at left back. I think, you know, you need to have the minerals to be able to think, right, he's not having a good, like Lincoln then, for example. I think Ollie unfortunately gave the ball away twice or lost the ball and they scored 2 goals. Mm-hmm. I think if a player's having a bad day, they should be big enough, old enough, ugly enough to kind of think, all right, I'm having an off day today. And we all have off days. You know, even us who do, you know, don't play football type of thing. So, yeah, I think perhaps that could be addressed.
Who would your choices be for wingers then? If you were dropping Ollie Tanner for a goal, resting, let's say resting. If you were resting Ollie Tanner.
I'd put Kean Ashford on the right, I think, and Chrissy Willock on the left.
What about if Isaac was back? Would that change your thinking, or would you stick with Willock?
I'd probably stick with him for now and kind of
I think Isaac's good late on in games.
Yeah, you know, tired defenses perhaps, and you know, I don't think they probably chuck Isaac straight back in the starting lineup when he does come back, because obviously you alluded to it earlier with his, you know, history of injuries and things. They'll probably gradually bring him back in. And obviously do a lot of work with him now in the summer, I would imagine, to get his fitness back up. Going back to the other point of the question regarding Robinson and him not starting, in my personal opinion, I just don't think he really fits the way BBM wants to play at the moment. I don't think he got the legs to probably do what BBM would want him to do for, you know, 60, 70 minutes maybe. And again, I don't want to come across that I'm slating Robinson, because he's been a legend for us and he's scored some really important goals and he continues to score important goals. Again, something you said earlier, and is a typical striker that he always seems to be in the right place at the right time. And, you know, that's not an easy trait to kind of have. That's something he's kind of learned and thing over the years, you know, when to make a run, this, that, and the other. But I just think, you know, time catches up with us all, but then perhaps he haven't got the legs that he had 5 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, do you know what I think is actually part of the issue in terms of why he doesn't play more? Is he actually is very, if he plays, he's going to do exactly the same role that Ruben and Omari and Joel do if they play as a false nine or whatever you want to call it. Years ago, you know, 3 years ago, Robbo would have played on the last man, running in behind, and he was the best, you know, best finisher at the club, a real sort of old school number 9. But he's had to convert, partially with this manager, partially with modern football, and partially with like a loss of pace as he's got older. but he drops in deep now. So he plays exactly the same way as all the other strikers who've been playing for us. So actually, but he can't press like him. You know, with the greatest of respect to him, he can't press like Ruben and Saleh and Joel Colwell can, which makes it tricky. Whereas if you give me Saleh or Davis on the bench and I want to change it up, they both offer something different. You alluded to it earlier, like it's always like for like. And unfortunately, at the moment, with Robbo, he is like for like with, say, Kellyman. But it sounds harsh, but just like not as good, if that makes sense. Like he's not as quick, he's not as skillful, he doesn't link the play as well, he can't beat a man as well. What he can do better is he can be in the right place at the right time to finish it. Now, if you were telling me Robbo's going to start or he's going to go on and he's going to play on the last man and on the shoulder of the last defender and he's going to play like that and he's going to move off the ball with good running and stuff like that, then I'm all for it. But if he's going to effectively play a similar role to what the others are doing, then, you know.
Yeah, no, I get it.
I get it at all.
He's, it'll be interesting to see what happens when, you know, you'll probably be able to back me up on this. He's thought very highly of within the squad.
I've got a lot of time for him. A lot of time for him.
BBM speaks very highly of him and, you know, the work he does with the youngsters and how he affects, you know, team morale. And, you know, again, that speaks volumes of how professional he is as a player. You know, he hasn't played many games. He could have thrown his toys out to the pram type of thing, but he's not. He's working hard behind the scenes. He's helping youngsters within the squad. So, you know, credit to him. And like I said, he scored some really important goals for us over the years. And I think, you know, a couple of years' time, we'll probably be doing a night down in Splot Cons with Callum Robinson with a bit of luck, but
maybe he's I got a lot of time for Callum Robinson. I think he's a really good footballer, and I think I like the fact that a couple of years ago there was, even last year, look, there was talk that he had maybe didn't have the best attitude or whatever, and the bullet, and then he came back last year really motivated. And he looked like he had turned the corner or whatever you want to call it. And I genuinely think he, you know, the other players call him uncle. Like, I think he's got so much to offer. But be realistic or be... here's an opinion for you, right, then. Or a question. When everybody is fit, at the moment, in League One, where you've only got 5 subs or whatever, 7 subs on the bench or whatever it is, who doesn't make the squad for you?
Oh, difficult one, but...
Well, let me be honest.
Tyra?
There's a good chance that that Callum Robinson might be the one, mate. And maybe, like, I don't know, maybe Di Turnbull as well. They'd probably be the two, I think. For me, but like people can disagree. That's fine. I know, like Steve's in the comments there, just saying like, you know, Robinson scored 9 goals this season with, I think it works out. He's effectively played about 12 and a half games. Like that's an unbelievable rate of scoring. But I just think, you know, he might have more goals than Kellyman, but Kellyman has offered so much to this team with his pressing and his link up and his winning free kicks with his ability to beat a man in tight spaces. And I just think, look, if it was my decision, I would probably give Robinson a start. I would have probably started him yesterday, but I would be telling him to play on the shoulder of the last man, which also opens up space for Ruben. And maybe that forces the low block a bit deeper and then it creates more space for someone else. I get it. Like, I get why people want Robbo to start, but I also kind of understand why the manager's not feeling it.
Yeah.
But I one of the things which has really stuck with me, which you've said tonight, mate, is why is it always got to be like for like as a substitute, particularly when the team's just sitting in? I'd like to see us really change things up to try and change the flow of the game. And like yesterday, I would have taken Wintle off at the hour mark to try and open it up a bit. Or I would have gone 3 at the back and taken Bagan off or Perry off. Maybe Perry off because he was booked. Move Joel Bagan into the back 3. And then have Scanlon and Ronan or whoever. I don't think Ronan was on the bench. But, like, you know what I mean? Like do something different to really to force the issue. But it is what it is, isn't it?
I know you want to finish off, so here's my last question to you then, and obviously the guys in the chat. Again, we named a bench yesterday without the goalkeeper, and I think, was it the first 10, 15 minutes, Nathan Trott got clattered yesterday. What do you think the thinking is behind our BBM with doing that? Is he going to bite us on the back? He's not going to be able to do that in the Championship, is he?
Well, in the Championship, we got 2 extra subs like on the bench, so it's not an issue. Right. It's a League One issue, isn't it? Because we've got less players on the bench. So, look, I get it, like, because I don't think he wants to not have Ronan Capacchio, and I think he wants Ronan on the bench because I think it gives him a really good option. But at the moment, I think Ronan seems to be the one. I can't remember if he was on the bench yesterday, but he was not on Tuesday. And I think it's definitely a risk, isn't it? But it is a little one for you, mate. I think Harry Tyra might surprise a few people next year. When we, like in a cup games at first, I think he might surprise some people.
Well, he might. His hand might be forced, mate, because obviously the Nathan Trott deal is not done and dusted, is it? So
no, we gotta get promoted first and foremost to have any chance of signing him. But yeah, it's not done and dusted. There's some European clubs who are looking at Nathan Trott, and I guess it depends on how much he's enjoyed his time here. Ultimately, so it's the same. They do
was
say,
on the bench yesterday. He wasn't used alongside Chambers and Scanlon.
Yeah, I thought he might have been. I wasn't sure. I knew I saw him, but I wasn't sure if he was on the bench and that. But yeah, Scanlon's one. I spoke to someone about him the other day. I spoke to someone close to him as well, actually, the other week. He's coming back from a serious injury. Like, he's not up to 3 games a week, like, thing in it. And they wanted someone who could give Joel a bit of competition and not wasn't going to kick up a fuss if he didn't play every week, but could put a little bit of pressure on him. But also, if Joel's injured or whatever, they could play. And I think he fulfills that role. I wouldn't be shocked if we got him back next year for the same role, mate, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. There was a question Markinish wanted to ask you. It wasn't Cardiff related.
Oh, it was about Skin Dread's new album. Yeah, I have heard a couple of them. We had it at the radio station. It's very good. Very, very good.
Right, happy days. Wrap it up, Simon.
Yeah, just look, what's that? Yeah, that's fine. And look, I would just say this to everybody. I'll never tell anyone what they can and cannot do. If people want to boo or they want to moan or they want to be negative, that's fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. We all see things differently. McAnish thinks Ryan Wintle was being poor recently. I think he's integral to the part to Cardiff City and what we've done this year. But it's all opinions. But I would say this: the last 10 years have been shocking as a Cardiff City fan. Really not very enjoyable. Particularly last year, it was soul destroying. Right up until this summer, where it was just that was the epitome of the whole shit show. So I would just say enjoy the rest of the season. There's 7 games to go, and then we're done with League One. And just enjoy it. Yeah, Ryan Wintle, mate, has 100% won me round. I wanted to sell him, mate, in the summer, but I was basing that on the fact that he was a bit of an issue under Bullet. Now, with hindsight, it probably looks like more of that was to do with Bullet than it was to do with Winter.
And I was just going to say exactly the same. It goes to show how a change in face can change a player.
100%, mate. And also, just on that, with Winter as well, is he's come back with a really improved attitude. Like, I'm not saying, like, I think it was Bullet, but he was a bit of a boy, like, you know, and I think he's come back maturer. I still have question marks, though, on whether he can do it in the Championship. And that, I hope
that's another podcast for a couple of weeks' time, Alice, buddy.
Yeah. Thank you for joining me, mate.
It's a pleasure. Never an
absolute nightmare at the moment. So we'll see where we are next week and where I am next week, because I could be anywhere. But yeah, there we go. Thank you so much. City fans love a meltdown, as Steve says there. Have a good week. Keep the faith. Player ratings are out in the morning. If you haven't already, watch 5 things we learned from earlier. It was really fucking good, if I do say so myself. Keep the faith.
This channel is powered by an incredible membership community on Cardiff City World and patreon.com/AcePodcastNation. Becoming a member unlocks exclusive rewards from early access to live event tickets, bonus content, and even the occasional inside transfer scoop when we get it. But more importantly, it allows us to bring you top quality Cardiff City content 7 days a week. Across those 7 days, we're talking match previews, exclusive interviews, instant match reactions, the breakdown podcast, tactical deep dives, the spotlight series, Bluebirds Rewind, Academy Focus, and just so much more. Led by myself, backed by an army of passionate Cardiff City fans, this is content created by fans for fans. Balanced, professional, and 100% all about the club we all love. If you enjoy what we do, then join the community today and support what we are doing as we help to keep Cardiff City World flying high.